Give me one moment in time
Oh
when
dear.
I'm more than I thought I could be. With all of my dreams are a heartbeat away, and the answers all up to me. Sorry.
Oh dear. Oh man.
Welcome to the Sabby and Jaybe show. I am your host, James Fauntleroy. So good to see all of you here on this Thursday evening, September 22nd, 2022. Just to let you guys know that the Sabby and Jaybe show stream every single Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'd like to give a warm welcome to you all, and please make sure to click the thumbs up. And if you are new, please subscribe and click the link bell to let you know whenever we go live, because you know the YouTube algorithm doesn't like us. Today, we have a special guest to talk about this riveting subject. We have Chuck Modi joining us today. I was going to use your full government name, but I'm gonna stay away from that because we got to keep it, kind of secretive. You know what I mean?
Either way is fine.
I can't be serious today. Today has been a good day, so I'm like in a good mood, but it's kind of a serious subject. But we also gotta, Sabby and Jaybe show is about keeping it light. What's up, Sabs? How you doing?
What's going on, JB? Fun day today.
Yep. And we did not color coordinate or plan our outfits, did we?
No.
Mm-hmm.
We were just here. We were here.
Yeah, we here. We got it on lock. Click. So good to see all of you in the chat. I will get to all my customary hellos in the chat a little bit later. But Chuck, you are a journalist that covers politics and sports, which can be very highly contested depending on the time of the year and the arena. So your thoughts about the entire thing dealing with Brett Favre. I'm sure you're abreast about that situation. Yeah. Brett Favre did some things, if I can say it so eloquently. What are your thoughts on that whole situation with Brett Favre taking money basically from poor people in Mississippi?
Like the anti-Robin Hood is basically who Brett Favre is. Well, first of all, JB, Sabby, thank you for having me, because I've been wondering for a long time. I wanted to get into sports. I know Sabby's into sports, and we talk a little bit about it, but it's so rich. Sports is so rich in sports justice. It's such a great vehicle to talk about justice. And even right now, we're talking about Brett Favre, and because Brett Favre's face is putting a face to a scandal, right? Which we probably wouldn't hear about. That Mississippi Today, a very small nonprofit paper, broke a lot of news and text messages about Brett Favre knowingly diverting money in connection, in collusion with the Mississippi DHHS. I say that allegedly. More information will come out. But what we have to know about today is John Davis, the executive director of Mississippi DHHS, pled guilty on 2 counts, including 1 count of theft. And I'm wondering where that will lead us to get some more information. But what we know is that Brett Favre has been gladly accepting money, in many cases also to build a volleyball stadium for his daughter. And that's money that's coming from welfare programs as part of $77 million that is being rerouted for welfare recipients to go to rich people and rich people's causes. Now Brett Favre's piece is not 77 million. That's the larger piece. But what Brett Favre is doing is giving a face to something that's really been going on through forever, but throughout the pandemic, notably Tom Brady got a million in PPP, and we're seeing what is happening through these faces about stories that we would normally hear, or because they don't have a face to them, we brush off. When we say all the billionaires are making money in the pandemic, it doesn't have the same attention grabbing as Brett Favre or Tom Brady. But it's the anti-Robin Hood that has been going on, which is what we call, I believe, capitalism.
And another thing I think that's important about someone like Brett Favre is if you're not into sports, you have to understand this was like the NFL's golden boy, basically. Brett Favre, in their opinion, could do no wrong. Even when he retired with Green Bay or he moved over to, I think it was either the Jets or the Vikings. I forget which one he went to first, but he went to two different teams after that, went to the playoffs and won could have won a Super Bowl or whatever. But there were a lot of excuses for someone like Brett Favre. Also, I saw the same thing with, and I hate to say it, but my team, the Patriots, Tom Brady can do no wrong, basically, in the media's eyes, per se, except for like Deflategate. But that was more of like a competitive aspect. So then you have to ask yourself, why is it like someone like Colin Kaepernick or someone like Jameis Winston's incident in college where he was accused of stealing crab legs, why that was such a big mainstream media deal. But then you have someone like Brett Favre who basically is stealing money from welfare recipients, and this is not covered the same way.
I mean, that's a great point. And you're right. Brett Favre has been a golden child throughout his entire career. And part of it is how bankable Brett Favre is. I mean, I was doing research on on Sports Illustrated issues years ago. I was looking at the statistics of which issues went nuts, which issues brought in the most money. And anytime Favre was on a cover, it shot up. He was the golden child for white middle America who really he resonated with. But there's another Brett Favre, but we could talk more about it. That is what has happened in this welfare scandal is essentially what Brett Favre has done throughout his career. We have nuggets. We can look back on how he talked poorly about black players who were trying to get contracts on his own team. We could talk more about that. But Brett Favre has a bit of a history, a very checkered history leading up to this point.
Thank you so much for that. And one of the things that I wanted to bring up, and I don't know if we're going to get a copyright strike on this or not, but I really did want to play this remarks from Shannon Sharpe on Disputed, because it gives a lot of the fuel for why I wanted to do this subject. And if you don't mind, Sabby, Chuck.
Definitely.
Okay. We may get demonetized, so just let you guys know, please, if you guys, want to give super chats, that's fine, but we may get demonetized for this one, to be honest with you. But it's also very important that we cover this because here's the thing. Sports and the way our lives actually function really interact in this way. So I'm just going to play this really quick. So here's Shannon Sharpe, and then we'll pause at intervals to give our comments on bait. And if you guys need me to pause, I will do that just to comment on some things that he says as well.
Yeah, T.O., they brought up everything. Can you imagine if they suffered from? But yet T.O.,
and we found out, right?
Right.
We found out. And now, somebody like Brett Favre, who basically, like you said earlier, was the golden child, and he could do no wrong. And he talked about Terrell Owens, who may have had his troubles. But the thing is that how many people would be talking about, Brett Favre's troubles, right? Sorry, go ahead.
Something I want to point out to you for people who are not aware. I believe, and Chuck, you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but I believe Skip Bayless, from what I understand, wasn't he raised by a black family? Because I know Skip and Shannon Sharpe, they talk about these issues a lot on this show.
I never heard that. I never heard that he was. I'm a Shannon Sharpe fan. I'm not a Skip Bayless fan. That's for another story. But the short version, he rides LeBron. He made his money off riding LeBron for 20 years. But what's interesting about Shannon Sharpe is he's a Hall of Fame tight end. And he's not even the best receiver in his own family. His older brother, Sterling Sharpe, was an all-pro who was incredible before he had a career-ending injury for the Packers. And he was Brett Favre's teammate. And if you go back to Sterling Sharp, when Sterling Sharp was holding out for a new contract, Brett Favre had disfavorable things to say about his brother in the news, and that breaks code amongst players. He did that with another receiver, Javon Walker, years later, that when the black wide receivers, they were all, his own teammates, were holding out for more money, which were given to him without having to hold out, he sided with management. And it's interesting, and publicly so. And thankfully, Sterling got his money because he ended up having a neck injury and it ended his career. And he was almost on the level of Jerry Rice. I know some people don't believe that, but he was that good.
Yeah.
But that gives you a little bit of background of where Brett Favre stands.
Interesting.
Okay, I just want to comment what Jody Nice said. Thank you for the correction, Joe. Skip's parents were cooks. His parents' housekeeper was a black woman who raised him and his brother, Rick. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, they talk about these issues often on Undisputed. They also talked about it in reference to Bill Russell when he passed away, about what Bill Russell had to go through when he was playing for the Boston Celtics. A lot of things that people just may not have been aware of, but he dealt with a lot of racism in the NBA. And even when he moved to Seattle to coach at that point, he still had to deal with the same thing.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you so much. Let's continue. Mind you, that right now, Jackson, Mississippi is going through a crisis where they have no clean drinking water at all. Jackson, Mississippi being majority black municipality. So with that being said, also Mississippi being one of the poorest states in the United States, it just really adds insult to injury, the fact that Brett Favre would do something like this.
Right. Has Brett Favre tried to help this water crisis that they're having in Mississippi? Why didn't he take any of his millions and try to help fix that water treatment plant that they have, which actually caused a lot of the problems? Why didn't he do anything like that if he cares about Mississippi so much as he says he does?
Good question. It's a good question. Yeah. Now, I will add, I don't know if you know this, Brett Favre was stumping for Trump, by the way, when he was running. Stumping for him publicly. And in other places, he was like, I don't want to get into politics until that happened. I believe Trump actually paid him a lot of money as well. Favre will go where the money goes.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Yep. Stick with the oligarchs and your life will be great, right? Jeez Louise. All right, let's continue.
To take from the poor of the speeches. And
that's true, too. So he got paid millions of dollars for speeches and he didn't give the speeches. So basically he stiffed a bunch of people. Yeah. Oh boy. This is bad. This is bad. Oh, you knew you messed up. And this is reason why I put the subject for this show as what I put. Wait, what did Nick say? Put that back up, please.
He said, I always hated Brett Favre. Now I feel good about it.
You should.
Oh, gosh. Oh, man. Nick in with the assist.
That's right.
But, I mean, here's the thing. And a lot of times people don't think about this. Somebody like Brett Favre getting away with this. And yet, wasn't there in the news, and remind me if I'm correct, that they said that they wanted to go after people who collected, I think, $600 or more on a regular basis from Cash App, PayPal, and other payment services. They wanted to go after them. And here's the crazy part that a lot of people don't think about. There are thousands of people that were hired by the IRS. And you know how you have a lot of people who are in liberal spaces saying, well, that's to go after the billionaires. Let me take this down so that people can see my face a little bit more clearly when I say this. When it comes to going after the rich, like Brett Favre, the rich actually hire lawyers to actually do everything by the book. They just find the loopholes. So even if they wanted to go after the rich, they wouldn't be able to because everything is copacetic. The books are clean. The books are good. So guess what? They won't be able to go after them because they found the loopholes, and the loopholes basically mean that it's legal. So yeah. So who are these people going to go after? They're going to go after the low-hanging fruit. People like me, Sabby, Chuck, Nick, CJ, Rome. People like us, poor and working class. Because guess what? That's the only people that they have to go by. There's not that many rich people in this country.
Right.
So when you have to hire thousands upon thousands of people, to do audits and things like that, well, maybe it'll let our tax returns and things like that, refunds go, by quicker. It'll come in quicker, yeah. But at the same time, to actually do the enforcement, to go after people, like, it's really going to be aimed at working people, because the rich and wealthy want to stiff the government even more than what they're doing already. And so instead of saying, oh, well, we should just pay more in taxes, back to the government, then guess what? They're going to say, no, don't take it from us. Take it from the poor people over there. They got it.
Yep.
Chuck, Sabby, your thoughts?
Go
yeah,
ahead,
I mean, I agree. I agree with what you're saying. It's absolutely true. You can't always find a loophole. I'm hoping Brett Favre's text that he was stupid enough to send back hurts him in a way that may not have happened otherwise. But I'm pretty sure he's going to find a loophole. I'm pretty sure Brett Favre's not going to do jail time. And when you could hire the incredible lawyers, you can get out of these things. So yes, what happened? Basically, the people that go to jail are people who do not have the resources to fight back. And I think I also want to add is, as part of this scheme, what Brett Favre was doing, and in this case illegally, what's incredible is how often what that scheme is legal. Like, we see it, he's trying to steal money from welfare recipients. Well, a lot of times when money is diverted, but in a legal way, we don't notice. So maybe nationally, if Joe Biden says we want 100,000 more police officers, well, that's coming from social services. That's often moved from social services, and we have examples of that in states as well. And if you want to use the sports analogy of him also, that $5 million used to build this volleyball stadium. Well, in college athletics, as a general rule, you have unpaid people, generally in football and basketball, who are generally black, getting $0 an hour, while their coaches like Nick Saban make $10 million a year, and they get state-of-the-art facilities that are better than NFL stadiums. And those stadiums are all built off the backs of the stolen wages of the players. And all of that is legal. So we do get caught up on the illegal stuff, but the best way to do what Brett Favre did is just make it legal, and usually it is. So whether it's illegal or it's legal, it's completely unethical either way.
I'm glad you brought up, Chuck, how much money some of these college football coaches make, because I don't think people understand, like, if you're not into college sports, or if you didn't go to like a sports school, like I went to a sports school, so we're part of the SEC, and these coaches make a lot of money. And meanwhile, you have dorms, you have classrooms that are falling apart, that have leaky ceilings, but the stadiums, the athletic stadiums are subpar. Like, they're beautiful. And not only that, like, I remember when I was in undergrad, they were trying to raise money. I was still a student. They were already calling students, trying to raise more money for a new stadium. And I'm like, what's wrong with the stadium that we have?
Yeah.
So it's just like all this money that comes into like college sports, and the players are the ones that are screwed in the end. And then you have like the video game companies that can use their name and their likeness and make money off of them. And the players haven't been able to make any money off of their own brand.
That's right. Now that last part, because of a recent law, that's starting to change finally. So we're getting some cracks in that system, and we're going to start to see it with the name, image, and likeness. And that's step one. And then step two is just pay them. Just pay the workers, okay? They're not there as students. They're there as workers, and they're generating money. And it's not even just the top coach, whether it's Debo Samuel, not Debo, Swinney at Clemson, or you have Dabo Swinney at Clemson, or Saban. Saban might make $10 million a year. but all of his assistant coaches are multi-million-dollar coaches as well, making 5 or 6 or 4. And again, it's all stolen wages. It's all quote unquote legal.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. In fact, you actually brought up a good point regarding college. I want to play this short video that I caught on Facebook of all places. I just want to make sure that I play this for you guys too. Hang on. Let me see. Let me share my screen. All right.
That's a good point, Deanna. Cash for sports, no cash for the arts. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Let me see. Bam. All right. So he starts off saying why predominantly black sports can't go straight to the league. Hang on. Let me refresh just a second, just so that it'll play.
Predominantly black are the ones that once you get into them, the goal is for you to feed the system and help the system make as much money as possible before you profit. Basketball and football, predominantly black sports, are the main ones with restrictions after high school. Mm-hmm. For a while, it had dress code, had salary cap, couldn't smoke weed, had a length of contracts. Like in baseball, you can sign a 10-year deal. In hockey, you can sign a 9-year deal. Can't in basketball. In tennis, in golf, in NASCAR, you can turn pro after high school.
Wow.
Can't in basketball and football. They're going to force us, and this is a residue of slavery. That's what it is. They're going to force you to feed and pay the system as long as possible. When you graduate from high school, there's so many players that shown you can go to the league and be successful. Kobe, KG, J.O., Daryl Dawkins, Spencer Haywood, the originator. LeBron James. T-Mac. So T-Mac. So there's evidence, concrete evidence that Hall of Fame players can go from high school to the pros. The sports that are predominantly black are the ones that once you get into them, the goal is for you to feed the system and help the system make as much money as possible.
Your thoughts, Sabby, Chuck?
Go ahead, Sabby.
I would say it's spot on. I will say in reference to hockey, just FYI for people watching, hockey players usually don't make anywhere near as much as professional basketball players and baseball players, just to put that out there. But when it comes to basketball and baseball and football, one thing I do want to mention in reference to salary is there's a salary that's guaranteed, and then there's like salary. So for example, a lot of times in the NBA, if I'm not mistaken, when they get a contract, like so-and-so signed a $16 million deal, guaranteed. For football players, unless this has changed, if I remember, for football players, it's not guaranteed. So you may hear that, oh, Tom Brady signed like a $40 million contract, but it's not guaranteed, which means you're not guaranteed to make that $40 million. Football players get injured a lot, right? So you might be there this season, gone the next season, or you may not finish this season. Look at someone like RG3. Perfect example. He was a great player, but he was injury prone. And we've seen this happen a lot of times with quarterbacks and other players in the NFL as well. So in the NFL, you are not pretty much guaranteed to have a long enough season to get all of that money that you signed for. Basketball is different. Not sure about baseball. I have to ask you about that one, Chuck. But yeah, it's football players. They're beaten up. They're brutalized on the field. I know they've tried to institute like rules to make it a little bit, I guess, less dangerous for them so that they don't have those complications, but it's really hard to do. How do you soft tackle someone? So I know they've tried to implement those steps, but it's important that people understand there's a difference between the amount that's guaranteed and just signing a contract per se.
Well, I'm so glad you mentioned that, Sabby, because we do have to put football in its own category of the non-guaranteed contracts. And there's even a double standard because every year owners cut players all the time. And no one says a word. It's mid-contract. But let a player hold out of a contract. They say, why are you not honoring your contract? There is no contract. There's never been a contract. You've just been wired to think this one-way deal is a contract, and you never said anything to that owner when they did the same thing. But to your point, which is really important to understand, and a lot of people are shocked when I say this, that your average NFL player is more of a life like a regular person like us than they are the other players. So maybe the top 8 to 10 players on any NFL team are making like big money, even the guaranteed money. But the majority of NFL players have a minimum salary. The majority of players have a 2 to 3 year career window. That's the average window. So you spend your entire life to make it in the sport. You push off moving up in any other profession because to be an NFL player, you literally have to devote all your time, all your mornings. You're waking up at 6 a.m. in college. You're practicing at night. It takes everything out of you. And you do that your whole life. You bust a knee, and then you know what happened to RG3, as you mentioned. That happens to you. Unless you have a career that goes into sports commentary or coaching, and by the way, we all know coaching is very discriminatory to Black players as well, then you're in trouble. Then you're in big, big trouble. And the last thing I want to say is the recent collective bargaining agreement took money away from players with disabilities who are retired. They kicked 400 people off the disability where you get health care later on because they made the criteria harder. And Eric Reed spoke out about it, wrote about it, hired a lawyer about it, and was never put his foot on a football field again. So we talk about Kaepernick being blackballed, but Eric Reed has also been blackballed, and in part because he was so vocal about the collective bargaining agreement.
Another thing I want to add too is this is why sometimes you may notice there's players on the team one season and they may be, awesome players. For example, someone like Malcolm Butler that was on the Patriots. He was known for making that epic, block against the Seattle Seahawks, which helped the Patriots win that Super Bowl. Other than that, Seattle would have won if he didn't block that. But the next thing you know, he's gone. Where did he go? Like, they can cut you anytime. Like, Bill Belichick can remove you anytime, and then you never hear from these players again, or they go off to some team like the Tennessee Titans and they don't even let them play. So when it comes to football, like, they're not obligated to make you stay, and they're not obligated to make you play, to let you play. They can get rid of you anytime. So someone can be very popular this season and next season come around and you're like, whatever happened to that guy? So it's really important too, in reference to the Black players in the NFL, because they're usually the ones that drop off. And you're like, what happened to these people? Or they're not given the recognition that they should receive. And I think Bad Cookies pointed it out in the chat earlier. Lamar Jackson is a perfect example. He's a great quarterback, but you rarely hear them give him that kind of praise that they were giving someone like a Tom Brady, like a Brett Favre, even like an Aaron Rodgers, even though Aaron Rodgers, to this day has only won Super Bowl. And I get it. It's not just one person that can win the game. But at the same time, you have to look at the difference. When I was growing up, when I was a kid, I think the only Black football player I remember was Warren Moon. And he played for a team that became another team. He played for the Houston Oilers, I think, at that time. They became something else. I forget. They moved these teams around. And then the guy from Philadelphia Eagles.
Donovan McNabb.
That's right. Donovan McNabb. Other than that, like what? Michael Vick. And look what they did to Michael Vick, right?
Yeah.
Oh, they massacred him.
Yeah.
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 So
they go after Black quarterbacks.
Now. It's only more so now that you see more Black quarterbacks. But the reason for that, too, was the fact that there was this belief that Black men couldn't lead. That's why you didn't see as many Black quarterbacks. Now, that is changing, but still, they're not giving them the recognition that they would give them if they were someone like a Brett Favre.
I mean, that's absolutely right. Go ahead, Jay.
No, I was watching a video. I'm trying to find it right now, but I should have saved it. And my apologies for that. But there was this gentleman talking about how there was there's a lot of people in the league that are looking for there are a lot of them are just looking for white quarterbacks, and a lot of the white quarterbacks that are this time around are mediocre in comparison to the black quarterbacks that are doing it really well in the game right now. But they're trying to pass on the black quarterbacks for the sake of a white quarterback, even though the black quarterback, the best quarterbacks in the league right now just so happens to be black, and they're trying to pass on them.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, wait a minute, why? And it's like, because guess what? It doesn't matter the color of the quarterback. If I just want to win, I'm gonna choose the best person, period. So it's like, why are you passing on the black quarterbacks to go for somebody that's not as good? And it just doesn't make any sense to me, just from a competitive standpoint. I'm not a very competitive person, but from a competitive standpoint, it's like, just go with the best person, period. Why are you trying to skip over the black ones and try to go for a white one just because he's white? Like,
yeah. Well,
Colin
Kaepernick agrees with your question, and as do many black quarterbacks. Here's what's changed a little since Warren Moon, who's the only black quarterback in the Hall of Fame right now. Donovan McNabb absolutely should be there with him. Yeah. But here's what's changed. It used to be you weren't allowed to touch the field if you're a black quarterback. They move you to wide receiver. And then now it's more like you have to be great out of the gate. If you're great out of the gate, like Russ, like Mahomes, I'm missing a couple off the top of my head, they'll keep you around. But you're not allowed to develop. So, and I'm hoping Jalen Hurts changes that this year. I'm really hoping Jalen Hurts changes that. Black quarterbacks have not been allowed to grow, to bump their head the way white quarterbacks do. Matthew Stafford did not win a playoff game until this last season where he won the Super Bowl. Okay, Derek Carr has still not won a single playoff game. You're allowed to bump your head. You're allowed to grow. You're allowed to have a couple of bad years, then in ascend. But when a black quarterback generally fails in his first couple of years, even if they're on an awful team, the analysis is different. They say he can't read defenses. Now listen to my language. It's not he's growing. It's an intellectual statement of white GMs and white owners on a black quarterback about a ceiling, about his capacity. He can't read defenses. They figured him out. They say this about Lamar Jackson for years. They're going to figure him out, as if Lamar Jackson doesn't have a counter chess move if the defense changes up, as if he's not smart enough to come back with something different. And on the case of Lamar Jackson, Bill Polian, a six-time executive of the year, said he should be a wide receiver when he came out of college, despite winning the Heisman. So we still have this mindset. And now what we're doing is people like Jalen Hurts, who's been given an opportunity with new wide receivers, and Geno Smith in Seattle, who probably lost many years of being a starting quarterback, they may challenge this thinking.
Yeah, another thing I will add too, in reference to Colin Kaepernick, if you watch the show where he narrates about his life on Netflix, this happened to him in high school too. He was actually the better QB, but the coaches wanted to go with the white QB because they said he fits the type, he fits the image, the brand that they were going for. And Colin Kaepernick, like, he went through a lot. I want to tell you the whole story, but he went through a lot just trying to get like a football scholarship to a college. That's how he ended up at Nevada, because so many other ones were rejecting him. And I think that sometimes people look at Colin Kaepernick and they're like, well, he wasn't that great of a quarterback anyway. Colin Kaepernick actually went to the Super Bowl, which some of the white quarterbacks never went, and they were still allowed to keep their careers, even though they bounced from team to team and may have been horrible or didn't win a playoff game. They were still kept there. Colin Kaepernick went to a Super Bowl. People forget that he was the backup QB for the 49ers. And then Alex Smith got injured. That's how Colin Kaepernick got his break. So he came in, did what he needed to do. They went to the playoffs. The 49ers had been awful for a couple of years before that. So it was like, wow, the 49ers made the playoffs again. This is crazy. And then later on, and I think it was the next season, when he went to the Super Bowl. I think they played against the Ravens, and there was that whole thing with the blackout and stuff. So let's not forget he has been to a place where some of the white quarterbacks have never been, and they have not been pushed out, and they've not been told, like, you're not a good QB, or we're going to demote you. None of that. He was pushed out because he stood for something. He stood for social justice, and that's why they pushed him out, because they didn't like what he was doing. And he wasn't the only player that was taking a knee. And people forget that too sometimes as well. Like you mentioned Eric Reed, he wasn't alone. So it's like, I think we need to stop making excuses for some of these other players, like the Matt Stafford, like you mentioned, Jay Cutler. He was another one. They kept making excuses for him. Like, how does this guy still have a starting QB job? Give me a break. So they'll find places for them. They won't find players for the black QBs. You have to be phenomenal. You cannot make mistakes. So people need to remember that.
But Sabby, doesn't this actually go along the lines, and I've heard you say this before, that especially even in this space of being commentators, we have to be 10 times as good in order to even reach up to what a lot of the white commentators do. So it's just sounding the same to me, even in football. Now, I'm not a sports guy. I'll be first to say it. I'm not a sports guy. I don't watch sports at all. And so all of this is brand new to me. And I'm thinking to myself, why isn't there as much outrage about Brett Favre as there was about Colin Kaepernick taking a knee for, in protest for police brutality? Like, why aren't people burning their Nikes? Why aren't people out there talking about, oh man, this is disrespecting the people of the United States? Brett Favre, shame on you. Where are they? Where are you? Like I'm talking to a lot of people right now who are football fans, especially those who were screaming about the troops. Well, what about the citizens? What about your boy Brett Favre? What he did? What Brett Favre did was actually egregious. What Colin Kaepernick did was express his right of free speech.
Yep.
So come on, let's be real here, because that's the thing. It's like the cognitive dissonance is crazy right now. Because I would expect, like, this should be like top of the news. This should be trending about what Brett Favre and others have done to the people of Mississippi.
Well,
Am I crazy?
Well, Green Bay Packer fans were more upset, at least the ones that were in the stadium. They were more upset with Aaron Rodgers and his teammates taking a stand against or for Black Lives Matter during one of the games. I remember this. They were booing because they took that stand together as a team. They were more livid about that than they were about Brett Favre taking money from people.
Yeah. What? And Brett Favre has been protected for a long time. Peyton Manning as well. There's certain generally white iconic players who are protected. Don't get me wrong. A Michael Jordan slips in there. Tiger Woods slips in there. When you become such a cash cow that there's no value in going after you. And Lance Armstrong had that space for so many years that all the writers would look the other way. So Brett Favre also had a sexual harassment scandal with Jen Sturger. Yeah, he was sending, I don't know if we could say dick pics here, I imagine. He was sending them to Jen Sturger. Yeah, I see your face. He was. And all of the mainstream media were not covering it. Even after it came out, they barely covered it. When Ben Roethlisberger had even his second rape allegation against him, ESPN sat it out for 2.5 days. So
all right, I'm gonna head out
about this without without talking about the protection from the ESPNs, from sports media as a whole. JB is really. Are
you kidding me?
I'm dead serious. ESPN. Listen, you're into politics. You see how CNN and MSNBC protect Biden, or how Fox protects Trump. Well, sports does the same way. These are cash cows, and they're going to protect their cash cows.
Right.
Because if you're a cash cow and you hit that stratosphere, everyone makes money off you. You don't even have to. It's like a silent conspiracy. You don't even have to have the conversation. If everyone is making money off you, why would you damage your product? You know, ESPN is also partners with the NFL, partners with the leagues. So we have to stop looking at them as objective sports media, just the same way these Republican National Convention or Democratic National Convention have their own networks that have their talking points. Sports the same way. The only difference is, unlike political news, it reaches millions more people. And everything that you talk about every day about politics is exported through sports, whether it's the jingoism or the flags or honoring the police during halftime or before the game and honoring the military. Sports is used as a vehicle to carry all of that out.
And I want to point this out because I forgot about this situation, but thank you so much for reminding me of this AOHT 06. Yes. Peyton Manning also had a sexual assault case in college that his father settled out of court. He never had it held against him. Media just pretends like it never happened. Oh, and also he blamed it on a black guy.
What?
Just FYI, Peyton Manning, when he was in college, he blamed it on a black guy.
Yeah. And they ruined the trainer. His trainer in college, got crushed over the allegations. When you hit a certain multi-million-dollar sphere, and then billion-dollar corporations behind you, they could suppress everything. And you probably didn't hear about beyond that sexual assault charge and lawsuit. You probably didn't hear he had HGH charges against him, and that Al Jazeera did a whole 45-minute documentary, which was amazing. One of the best sports documentaries, investigative pieces of journalism I've ever seen. And NFL made it go away in 2 or 3 weeks. It was they made it go away.
So you got to remember who his dad is. His dad was Archie Manning, and he was a former professional football player. They were already connected. They already had the money. They had the resources to do what they needed to do.
Oh my gosh.
So, JB, let me put it like this. Everything you know about political media and politics, just take it, extrapolate it, and apply it to sports. Same thing, and it might even be worse.
And it doesn't matter which team you're on or which sport it is. Like, it's just, again, people with money, resources, networking, people that have power.
Yeah. And when we talk about media, the most profitable part of media is also denigrating black athletes. You have to understand that every time they go after black athletes in the news, it's making more money than going after Brett Favre in the news. So if their job is to have revenue, and you're asking the question, why aren't they going about on Brett Favre? Brett Favre's not going to get the clicks the way a black athlete allegedly misbehaving is going to get the clicks. That is just a factual, objective information.
And I look back on it, I used to give Michael Jordan a lot of flack for this because I felt like growing up, he didn't stand up for a lot of these social justice issues. He remained silent. And I didn't like that. I was really disappointed in him doing that. Years later, he did come forward and say he looks back on it and doesn't think that was the right thing to do. But also looking back on it, now I feel like I understand why he was silent, because he knew what they would do to him. If he would have spoken out like a LeBron back then, I think he was afraid of, are they going to pull my endorsements too? Are they going to pull money away from me? So it's just, it's very different. We don't have as many Muhammad Ali's like we did like back in the day, where they would speak out against these injustices, right? Now people are more concerned about their wallet. And to be fair, LeBron will speak out about some issues, but if he gets criticized for it, he walks it back. I've noticed that too.
Yeah. Well, in many ways, endorsements are hush money in many ways. And Howard Bryant, the great great sports journalist and author of many books. If you haven't checked out his book, What We're Talking About Right Now, he writes in The Heritage about black athletes. He talks about the heritage, and it's a wonderful book talking about what black athletes have had to contend with over the years, what's changed, what's not changed, and then also how sports is used to further patriotism and in the ways that the NFL stadiums are used, from pageantry to the Department of Defense actually using stadiums, paying them money to have this pageantry, and how they're connected and how they further the police state. So he talks a lot about what we're talking about right now and how that's changed.
Wow. It's crazy. You know what? Thanks for the tip, Rock. Sorry. I'm so used to rock.
I know.
Thanks for the super chat. Roger Meadows says, "Where are the endorsement deals during Ali's time?"
He did turn down
Interesting.
some. I have to say that he did turn down some.
Okay.
Ali did turn. Ali's a special person. He really is. If you look at a lot of the activists who came out over the years, many followed the wave of the people. And I have to start there. If you really look over the time, the people hit the streets, then the athletes spoke. And I'm not taking anything away. But whether that happened in Ferguson in 2014, predating Kaepernick by 2 years, or that it happened in the 60s, the uprisings that were going on that informed Kareem, who was stuck in the 1964 uprising in New York City, and then later on in LA at UCLA with Watts, that those informed him. So the people informed him. Muhammad Ali is one of the very few athletes who actually informed the people, who moved ahead, beat to his own drum. It's pretty remarkable.
Wow. Okay. Well, there's another person that I wanted to discuss, and that is the issue regarding Sha'Carri Richardson. She was a runner, an Olympic runner, and so Sha'Carri Richardson. Actually, you know what? Before we get to that, can I get your article really quick, Chuck? Yeah,
sure, but you
so
can flow if you want. Go ahead.
Yeah. I just want to, since we're talking about football, I want to make sure we keep within the same vein. So you wrote an article a couple years ago, back in 2020. Title of the article is "The NFL is Racist. Martellus Bennett absolutely shreds Breeze NFL media coaches and epic tweets." And one of the things I appreciate is that you just tell it how it is, like it is. You don't sugarcoat for anybody. You just tell it like it is. And I'll read the first part. Here's what you wrote. Black athletes have been calling out big-name white stars to step up in response to the murder of George Floyd. What they received is a pathetic, insulting, and appalling response from Drew Brees. As a part of the backlash by many players and teammates on a day that ended with a 23-part Twitter shellacking by Martellus Bennett that began with Brees and ended with correctly concluding that the whole NFL is racist. Judging against Brees' curve, many in media praised Aaron Rodgers for a bare minimum opposition to Brees, but judged against the moment former teammate Martellus Bennett was not impressed with its strength of solidarity. So if you can talk about this article just a little bit, I actually should bring up the tweets because it's actually it would be good.
And as you bring that up, I have to say, Martellus Bennett and his brother Michael Bennett, two great players in the NFL, are just incredible. You know, Michael Bennett's written a book. He's talking about Free Palestine in a book. You know, you're not really supposed to do that as an athlete. And I believe Michael Bennett's career was shortened because he was so outspoken, spoke out about police brutality. So you have both the Bennett brothers. You know, they come from very socially conscious parents as well. But there's one thing to be socially conscious, and it's one thing to put your career on the line. But what I like in his tweet storm, you know, I know every time I'm around a lot of black people who are socially conscious, they said that we talk about the Michael Jordan question. Why did Michael Jordan say more? Why doesn't LeBron say more? Even though LeBron has said some things. And what gets lost in that conversation is, why doesn't Tom Brady say more? Why didn't Drew Brees say more? Why didn't Peyton Manning say more? Why don't some of the white iconic athletes who have even more privilege in many ways, who will receive a less of a backlash in many ways, why can't we push them to say more? And, you know, there's not much of a great history. There's some history of white athletes. But Bennett, in his commentary, was hitting that as well. And Michael Bennett, his brother, hit that as well. We want to hear more from white athletes, too, because you have certain privileges and certain shields that we don't have.
Right.
Yeah. I'm going to show you what came up from the tweet storm really quick. I'm going to show you what came up really quick. And this actually says a lot. This is what came up. Tweet storm is gone. It's gone.
Oh,
What does that say? This page doesn't exist?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. So
wow. Oh,
apparently,
so are you saying he might have deleted it?
I don't know if it deleted it or he might have deleted his own Twitter, or I don't know.
Oh,
but it's gone.
I'm glad I preserved some of them then.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just wanted to show you guys that, because people be like, "Oh man, you're tripping." Like, no, it's gone.
Back. He didn't hold. He called out the NFL. He's calling out an empire. You don't get away with that. When you're Martellus Bennett, you call out an empire. You're saying, "I'm never going to work in this field again. I can't be a broadcaster in this field again. I can't get a side job in coaching in this field again." So people have to realize, for the few times someone does go against the league, they're making often multi-million-dollar sacrifices.
Yeah. So he says here, you get in front of millions on your platform and give an ignorant statement, fucking up the message dudes have lost their jobs fighting for. You and your friends need to take your knees off the necks of your black teammates and stand for something.
Yep.
Yeah. What Bennett did is question the hypocrisy of the lie that sports is this beautiful melting pot, and in that melting pot where there's racial harmony, and what he saw, and he writes about this, is yes, we are all one. We get together when it's time to go on the field. We got each other's back. We'll do anything for each other. But now when people are dying off the field and we're calling out police terror, how come you're not by my side now? And not only how come you're not by my side, Drew Brees, how come you're going against me? Don't you have black teammates? Like, where have you been in this locker room the last 15 years? And Bennett spoke to that. Bennett spoke to that lie and that illusion, because it's often said in sports where it's often a fake harmony that doesn't exist past the field.
I want to highlight something here, because I think this is a good point. Thanks for the super chat, Greg Bruce. Notice people say this is too political when athletes kneel for the anthem, but they don't say that when they heavily push patriotism at sports events.
Yeah.
Let's all put our hands up together. Yeah.
That, and I think about that because the national anthem wasn't always played at sports events.
Yeah, no.
I don't know if everybody realized it. That wasn't always a thing. So I know they started to make sports more patriotic after, from what I remember, after 9/11. That was when you started to see more patriotism at sports games and things like that.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, they really took it up 10 notches after 9/11. Absolutely.
Yeah, because I mean, even because a lot of people saw and listened to, the Star Spangled Banner being sang by Whitney Houston. And of course, there was a lot of, nationalism in that, where they have the F-16 fighter jets flying over, afterwards. So, and that typically is in Super Bowl tradition. And, it's like, but why do we do it? And it's like, well, we got to honor the country. And it's like, but we do that, like we stand for the flag every single morning, before morning announcements at school. Like, how much honoring can you do? And it's just weird. But back to, and then I'll get to the super chats as well as the tips on Rockfin really quick after this. But another tweet that was written that was soon deleted, Martellus Bennett said, black quarterbacks have to do every fucking thing right. Baker Mayfield and his white privilege allows him to do whatever he wants. Quote, this kid has so much swagger. No, the fuck he doesn't. If a black quarterback did any of that and lost the narrative, wouldn't be swagger. It'd be unfocused, not serious.
That's true.
Wow.
It's true.
I will say Baker Mayfield did advocate for Julius Jones to not be executed and to also be released. I will say that. I'll give him credit for that. But yeah, he's not that great.
Yeah. And he was he got a media wave and a fan wave he never deserved. It's really incredible. But to his point, I don't know if you saw this week. Listen, Sabby Savs Patriots fan, did you see Tom Brady breaking another Surface tablet this weekend? Did you see Tom Brady throwing another tantrum this weekend? How many tantrums has Tom Brady thrown? And he's a competitor. He's passionate. And this is the language we use for Tom Brady. Let Lamar Jackson keep breaking Microsoft Surface tablets. We'll be talking about his misbehavior and how he can't control himself. Yup.
Oh, Roger. He said,
"Oh God."
Tebow took a knee before Colin, yet only one got praise. Ooh.
That was a knee for God, though. That was a knee for religion. It's different. In the South, I went to high school in the South. In the South, football, God, and country all go together. So like even when we used to be with the players, because I was a trainer for the players when I was in high school. So even with the football team, even during practices, what would they do? They'd start with prayer, they'd end with prayer. Same thing before every game. And then they talk about going to church on Sunday, and they talk about being patriotic and talk about your country. So all those things actually go together. And that starts at a younger age, not just when you become pro.
Lord and Lord.
It's crazy, man.
Right. I'm telling you. Also, he asked his second week, tell me one white quarterback that truly stands for something other than their Captain America images. Oof. Yeah, so I'm not going to read the whole thing because I want you all to give this a look. This was a great article by you, Chuck. I really appreciate it. Give Chuck the clicks. I'm going to put it in the chat once more. It's also in the description as well, because this was a great article that was written by you, Chuck. I have to.
Well,
give
it's
my
the
hat
easiest
off to
one
you.
I ever wrote because Martellus Bennett did all the work, really.
Yeah.
He put it out there. We haven't
Yeah.
heard from him since. Think about that.
Yeah. Now to Sha'Carri Richardson, like I alluded to before, Sha'Carri Richardson was an Olympic athlete that basically was I'll talk about that a little bit later. But she was stopped by the Olympic Committee for competing at the Olympics because they found THC in her system because she smoked cannabis. And so there's an article about that. Sha'Carri Richardson is a Black woman. Let me see. Do I have it up?
As a Black woman they did not approve of, so they banned her for finding THC, where many Olympians would be swept under the rug. We know that the little things like that get swept under the rug all the time. And if they wanted to, it's very likely they could have swept that under the rug. They could have made that choice. And if you go back to Michael Phelps' career, you'd see an extraordinary amount of stuff swept under the rug.
Yeah. So this is an article that came out, and it says Sha'Carri Richardson accuses Olympics of racial double standard after Russian figure skater competes despite failing drug tests. So they basically said, okay, Sha'Carri Richardson, you cannot compete in the Olympics as a sprinter because we found marijuana in your system, and that could be an enhancing drug, right?
Yeah.
So what happened with an Olympic skater, a white Russian Olympic skater? So it starts off here. It says Sha'Carri Richardson, a 21-year-old track and field athlete who was barred from competing in the Summer Olympics after she tested positive for marijuana, has some questions after a winter competitor was allowed to continue despite a failed drug test. This was this is last week. 15-year-old Russian skater Kamila Valieva tested positive for trimetazidine. Sorry, I can't talk right now. a banned heart medication that can impact endurance and increase blood flow efficiency, both of which could help a figure skater.
Mm-hmm.
But Valeva continued to practice despite failing the drug test and had already skated in the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing Sunday night when Court of Arbitration cleared her to compete before a full investigation into her positive doping test takes place. So the funny thing is this article came out in February, right? And they're still they basically came up with the conclusion. Here's the article. They came up with the conclusion that there is sufficient evidence of violation that was published a few days ago on September 15th. Now, let me show you that. So this is an article out of the USA Today. What happened? What happened to Chuck?
Oh, sometimes he has to reset.
Oh, okay. Because I know you said an hour, so.
Oh yeah, he does have an hour too.
Yeah. So, okay. Thanks. So I want to get this in here too before Chuck has to go. As soon as it. Oh man. Did my computer freeze?
Can you put it in the private chat? You're not frozen yourself. Oh, there it is.
Okay. Oh no, did it? Oh no. Is it not allowing me?
No, it's just an ad. You just got to hit the X at the top.
There is no X.
Oh, it's an X. I can see an X.
Oh, you can?
Yep.
Yeah, it says, wait, don't miss this. There's an X at the top right.
I don't see an X.
Maybe put the link in the private chat and I can pull it up.
Yes, please.
Okay.
All right. Let's do that. No, because it's actually no, it's what's showing on the screen right now isn't what I'm seeing. It's weird. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, just put the link in because I have ad blocker, so I can bypass that.
Yeah, I put ad blocker in too, but I don't know what happened. Paste. Okay. All right. Should be in there. Sorry about that, everybody. Wait. Oh, here it is. Okay. Never mind.
Oh.
All right. Okay. It says developments in Kamila Vileva doping case indicate sufficient evidence of a violation. So this was on September 15th, just a few days ago, months after Sha'Carri Richardson actually accused them of, basically, a double standard. So it says this week, Russian anti-doping agency announced the completion of its investigation of Olympic figure skater Kamila Valieva without revealing its results, but said that its next step of the excruciatingly delayed process would be to organize hearings in the case. That development seems to be a clear indication that evidence shows Valieva was found to have committed a doping violation. U.S. anti-doping CEO Travis Taggart said this Thursday. So basically, they said that it's not going to the actual case is not going to be heard until late September, early October. That being said, they can allow her to compete, and they can allow her to get I think it was a silver medal, but they wouldn't allow Sha'Carri Richardson, who basically she basically smoked weed to just try to cope because she lost her aunt.
Last time I checked, weed doesn't make you run faster.
No.
It doesn't.
No. Now, from what I heard, and this is from Rob, gosh, I'm blanking on names, but he does the Rob Durden. Sorry, he is a doctor, and he said that weed is actually more of a bronchodilator. So when you smoke it, it actually opens up the lungs a little bit. But even still, it's not like she smoked weed like right before competing, right? So my thing is like, even still, what is there, like, why are you saying yes to one but no to another, right? If you're going to stop Sha'Carri Richardson from competing, y'all should have did the same thing for the other.
I'm with that commenter.
Yeah.
It does not. It's not a performance enhancer. It's not. But versus a real performance enhancer, which is what we're talking about in this case. And I'm really glad you brought that up because I missed that story last week. I thought it was an old story, but it came back last week of the disparity. And Christine Brennan is an excellent journalist who has been for years. But it's a common point. I think when Sha'Carri Richardson, when that story broke, a lot of us were like, we've been watching Olympics forever, and we haven't seen this, right? And it goes to what I was saying in that over the years, that if you follow doping and you follow violations, these things could be swept under the rug, especially if it were weed, right? Little things like that, because so many bigger performance-enhancing drugs have been swept under the rug over the years, that if you hit a stature of a Phelps or an Armstrong, certain things like that, yeah, you have a whole team behind you trying to hide it and find a loophole why it wasn't right. Let's do a second test. Maybe there was something wrong. And no, it's there are problems with the test itself. You can make stuff go away if you want stuff to go away. So when Sha'Carri Richardson, who's coming up, and not everybody likes her coming up, well, that's what she got. The system hit her back.
Yeah. Sabby, your thoughts?
I agree. I mean, it's just ridiculous at this point. Like, can we just legalize weed? Like, even the basketball player, Brittany Griner, similar situation in Russia. I'm like, why is weed even illegal still at this point? Like, and I say this, and I don't even smoke, but I think it's ridiculous. Like, at this point, just like, it's a plant.
Yeah. Well, many people saw Sha'Carri Richardson. I wish I could, call out authors who wrote to this best, a race class issue. And that Sha'Carri Richardson was, quote unquote, respectable enough to carry the torch for America and be the top runner in the top event in the Olympics, which is the 100-meter dash. And so there was a lot of talk about that. And that's not something that could be dismissed.
I'm going to pull up, because if you guys know who Sha'Carri Richardson is, hang on.
What?
Because I'm going to make a point right now, and I think this needs to be said, because and excuse me for this, but I might end up getting into a little bit of a rant, but it is what it is. Okay, so this is Sha'Carri Richardson, right? All right. Athlete, right? But what did they see? They saw the brown skin, the nose piercing. They saw the brightly colored hair. They saw the long false eyelashes, the long nails. And they said, nah, you're too hood. You're too hood to race. You're too hood to represent the United States. No, you can't do that. That's what they saw. They saw, quote unquote, ghetto, and they were like, no, you can't represent us. Even though she was the baddest. And bad at being good, she was the baddest. She ran her ass off. And guess what? They said no. And so here's the thing. By the way, just to let y'all know, give it about a good 5 or 6 years, you're going to see a lot of very long false eyelashes and long behind nails going to be the trend. in the mainstream audience watch. It's going to happen. It's happening. If it happened with black women today, it's going to happen with black women in the future. Just give it a few years. But I digress. But here's the thing. They went by appearance and said, no, we do not want this to represent us. And so it's just sad, because here's the thing. Y'all could have got a gold medal with her.
Yep.
But y'all didn't want to win. Y'all wanted to use the white supremacy in order to continue to keep the nation the way it is.
They're like the Democrats. They'd rather lose.
And so look, I don't want to, take too much of your time. I know you said you had about an hour, Chuck. But if you want to stay a little bit longer, I'm not going to stop you. We love you here. So,
well, listen, I have to wrap up, but I deeply appreciate being able to talk sports. Because, listen, I'm into sports. I'm into to justice as both of you are, and they collide. And generally, when I talk and write about sports, I talk about that collision. But when I was 5, 6, 7, 8, I wasn't like, when I get older, I'm going to talk about how sports collides with social justice and see how we could talk about it to reach a larger audience. I wasn't saying that. I was just a sports nut. I just loved sports for the games itself. And then I became older and I realized, wow, what I love, there's so many things wrong. Everything around sports is problematic on so many levels. Racism, sexism, homophobia, the whole nine. And to be a sports fan, and I still am, that we have to reconcile that. Or any sports fan who's gonna love it and take the beauty that comes out of sports, we have to also talk about everything wrong with it and how sports exports so many wrong things. So I'm really happy to be on the show. I really appreciate the invite. Thank you so much. And I would say let's just keep doing them.
Thank you so much, Chuck, for being here and also helping to elevate the conversation. It's always a pleasure to have you, and I can't wait to have you back on for more.
Let's do it. All right.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thank you.
Bye, Chuck.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey,
right.
One last thing. I didn't once at all go at Sabby for being a Boston fan. No, I'm a native New Yorker. I didn't do that. I stayed respectable. I didn't want any trouble. But next time, maybe I'll have the gloves on.
Uh-oh.
Just so you know. Now you know. See you later.
Bye.
Oh, man. Man.
Gotta love Chuck, man. I love it.
We have a couple of comments, JB. I was gonna.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Joe Nice DJ was in the house. Lead is an environmental health hazard. The folks in Libby, Montana receive Medicare when the vermiculite mine exploded. Why can't Jackson, Mississippi residents get the same treatment? That's a good question.
Thank you.
Good question.
Thank you, Joe Nice.
Roscoe, if you make $80K to $200K a year and are self-employed, then you're in the IRS crosshairs.
And thank you for reminding me, Roscoe. Here's the thing: people that make between 80 and 200K, you're still part of the proletariat. You're still workers. So they're going after workers. They're not going after the super rich. They're not going after the super wealthy. They're still going after the
millionaires. They're not going after like millionaires and billionaires. Bad cookies. Look at Lamar Jackson. He is statistically a top 5 QB, but is treated like a mediocre player because he is black. That is true. We talked about him. Wellesley Reynolds, Oilers and the Titans. Yes, the Houston Oilers became the Tennessee Titans. Thank you for the reminder. Extra Bulla, I'm an NFL fan for almost 40 years. What Favre and the former Mississippi governor did has reserved those two a special place in hell for stealing from poor people. Yeah. And we got a super chat from Roger Meadows. Ed Schultz couldn't stand Brett regarding cheerleader. Thank you for that. And thank you for this super chat. Blunts and Otter. Sorry, I like that name.
Me too.
Any thoughts on media's insane hatred of Lamar Jackson? He plays the game his own way, doesn't have an agent, and they hate it. Also, shout out Be More Sabby. Yeah, we talked about Lamar Jackson earlier on in the segment, but yes, it's true. He's not given the credit that he should deserve. I think he ran how many yards did he run on Sunday? Let me look that up. You go ahead,
Okay.
JB. I'm gonna look up the yards.
So while we're doing that, I'm going to go to the chats on Rockfin really quick, just to make sure I get to that as well, because Rockfin is also very important. Oh, wait a minute. JB, get it together. All right. Pop out chat. Boom. All right. Let's share the love, baby. All right. All right. Okay. So, let me see. Milburn Stone said, "Ard listening to a hot chick talk about another man. Ouch. Gotta go." I don't know what that's about.
Where did you get these notifications?
Milburn, dude. Come on, dude. All right. Gosh.
Last game.
Okay. All right. So. Okay. Roger Meadows, thank you for the tip. Roger says, Sab, if this YouTube thing don't work out, you can always open up a bar and lounge. You got the perfect name for it. Hey, y'all, we're going to meet up at Sabby's tonight. Yo, John, we going over to Sabby's bar and lounge for the after party. You coming? Hey, guys, we're meeting up at Sabby's for happy hour. This sounds like a place Kit would go. If not for the drinks, then for the special South Carolina wings themselves. Wings sound good right now, actually.
Don't put
Roger,
thoughts in my head.
Roger, you got me hungry. All right. Is there any more? I didn't get to take a look before this.
All right. Lamar Jackson rushed 119 yards on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Just for that game. Passing yards, 318.
Mm-hmm.
So,
wow.
Yep.
Wow, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you so much to the tips on chats on Rockfin. So yeah, the whole thing with Sha'Carri Richardson, that is just horrible. Actually, there's a teammate that spoke out against Brett Favre. I also want to share that article really quick too, because we got like a few minutes left. I do this really quick. Let me see. Boom. There we go. All right. So it says former teammate calls out Brett Favre's involvement in alleged welfare fraud. Okay. It says former NFL quarterback Brett Favre has been mired for months in a welfare funds controversy in his home state of Mississippi, where the situation has received sufficient attention. Elsewhere is a matter for fair debate. We've covered it extensively here and will continue to do so. Here's an interesting development. Former teammate Favre has taken a clear shot at Favre's behavior. So Sage Rosenfeld says, since retirement, I have been lucky to avoid stealing millions of dollars from the poorest people in my state. Oh, that was a burn. That was a burn. Oh, burn. I'm going to read it again. He says, since retirement, I have been lucky to avoid stealing millions of dollars from the poorest people in my state. Damn. Sabs.
That's a own, JB. I don't know what to
Oh my Lord. Let me just
I don't know what to say, JB. I don't know what to say. That's an epic own.
Oh my God. Okay.
Is that him? Is that the guy in the video?
I could.
Is that the guy?
I don't know. I can try. Let me see.
Matthew
Maybe
Stafford,
that's not him.
coming up later. He's on the love list again. Foreshadowing, young men and women.
That's not
Those
him.
of you who want to be in
Yeah.
nature and
yeah. I don't think that's him.
Oh man. Oh, I don't know. Oh,
Yeah. All right.
that
Let me
was
read.
that was.
Hang on, because I'm gonna show you what's funny. It says Rosenfeld played for the Vikings in 2009. Favre's first year in Minnesota. Rosenfeld, to his credit, felt no compulsion to look the other way on a story that has stunk to high heaven since we first saw the report of Favre getting $1.1 million for an alleged no-show work from the federally funded welfare program. Favre denied wrongdoing, but then he paid back the money. He has since been sued for unpaid interest on the funds he received and surrendered. More recently, the situation has focused on Favre's role in shaking $5 million in the fruit from the federally funded welfare tree for construction of a volleyball stadium at his alma mater, the University of Southern Mississippi. Damning text messages were released last week, on including one in which Favre asked whether the media would learn about payments being made. What have we learned about it? Everyone has, but we can't control how others cover the story. Maybe they regard Favre, who hasn't played in more than a decade, is irrelevant. Maybe they'll feel differently when he's eventually doing the perp walk. And if he broke the law, he absolutely should be prosecuted and incarcerated. It's one thing to rob from the rich to give to the poor. Favre was involved in a scam that entails stealing from the poor to give to the rich. I'm not going to read that last part, but that part is in the article. You can read it for yourself. I'm not reading it.
I don't know what to say. People are brutal, JB.
Oh gosh, that dumb motherfucker. How you gonna steal from people like that?
Why are you saying like that, JB?
Because I can't say the other word. Because I don't want to be disrespectful. But
Why are you
what
saying
I'm
like
saying?
somebody was asking for that link? Did someone ask for that, Bob? Bob, I'm putting the link to the video on here. He was asking me for something.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I got you. But
I can't believe you said it like that.
that's a good question. Quick, do you know where Justin Jackson is? I have no idea.
I don't.
I would have loved to have him here for this conversation, but it also would have been a risk for him to have this conversation.
That's true.
Saying.
I've never met Justin Jackson, so I don't know.
Nah, me neither. But I'm gonna say like this. Thank you for the super chat. But look, the double standard is crazy, and it just overlaps into anti-blackness, and it just rolls into. And here's the thing. And D.L. Hewley said this really well. He said the same qualities that they want us to have in sports is the same qualities that they will shoot and kill us for in the street.
There you go.
They want us to jump higher, run faster. They want us to be unstoppable. But then once they see us in the streets, we gotta get rid of them. So, Sabby, what's coming up?
I'll be live again in 30 minutes on my channel tonight. We're going to cover news. And then tomorrow, come back to RBN, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Decolonized Buffalo podcast is going to be here. So we're going to talk about decolonization. We're going to talk about land back, treaties, all that jazz. So come back and tune in for that.
Ooh. Hey, to anybody who is either native Hawaiian or native Puerto Rican, I want to talk to you guys about land back regarding Puerto Rico as well as Hawaii. Like I want, and people from, if anybody who native from Guam or oh my God, Samoa. I would love to talk to you guys about that. But yeah, so this Sunday I'm going to be I'm going to be talking to the sister of Pushawn Brown. Pushawn Brown was a woman that was doing COVID testing, even though she has no medical training and she's not a nurse or certified to do any type of medical testing. She died from COVID. She was an Amazon worker, warehouse worker. So I'm going to be talking about her sister and what has happened in the wake of that. So that's going to be interesting to talk about. Also tonight I will be on the People's Voice Network, and I'll be on their channel at 9 p.m. Eastern talking with Z. Be sure to do that. Thank you so much to everybody. Please make sure to give a like and subscribe. Also, be sure to go back to Sabby. So she in 28 minutes. All right. Water your plants, water yourselves, leave the world better than you found it. And kiss your pets, kiss your family, hug them. I don't care. Hug yourselves, kiss yourselves, love yourselves.